Going to court and trial, now that's torture, pal. How you going to court for child support when you support your child? If this the life, then put me in the coffin now. The smokes and drinks is probably why I'm coughing now. You love her to death, can't think about abortion now. Your wife is a rider, you know you can't divorce her now. And a provider, damn, you done lost it now. She doing her thing, and now you getting bossed around. So you hit the block, time to start flossing now. Show her you ain't that nigga to start crossing now. You get locked up, can get your back up off the ground. The prison system, I call it the black lost and found. Ransom, Barcelona. Sheesh. Let's go. Yo, 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 yo. Ransom, New Jersey MC. I remember when I first heard that freestyle on the DVD years ago. We all lost our mind because he really put a lot of pain in that freestyle. Yeah, shouts to those bars, shouts to those lines. My name is Albe Back. You are on That's a Bar. We have a very special guest today, a good friend of mine. The accolades is just out of control, from a Peabody Award to a Tony Award to just overall having the whole poetry community had titled him legendary in his rookie season type of a poet. I'm just happy. I'm ecstatic about today's guest. It's the legendary Black Ice. That's going to be crazy. That is going to be out of control. We got a lot of questions to ask him, especially we're going to ask him about his top 4 Mount Rushmore verses of all times. You're going to love that. You're going to want to tune into that. That's coming up. But before we do that, we got to start with the Barcelona Times. In Barcelona Times, what's going on? What's shaking? What's happening? What's happening in the world? Woo! Slick Rick set to drop his first album in over 25 years. Now, you got to understand, he is just like, we tailor make so much stuff in hip hop after what he has, his contribution. Slick Rick is not only one of the greatest storytellers. I think people dumbed down his presentation because they didn't know how to understand him. You know, they didn't really grasp what we had, and not until it's too late. Of course, there was jams, Mona Lisa, Teenage Love, Hey Young World, just that whole children's story, that whole Great Adventures album was just so dope. But I think just with his accent and everything, he used to be in the Bronx, all his gold and I remember seeing him as a kid. I think with his accent, I think he brought so much to the game that we don't even realize. Just couplets and anthems and stopping the track and just so much stuff Slick Rick has done. So I'm interested in seeing this album over 25 years. I'm interested in seeing how any new schemes, any new stories, because when you're a storyteller, you can take as many years as you want off. All right. So shouts to Slick Rick, the ruler. I am excited about that. That's dope. What else we got? All right. And this is what I'm talking about. Brandy and Monica are set to embark on a joint tour titled The Boy Is Mine. I asked them to stop singing about me, and now look at, there's a whole tour. No, I'm just joking. Big shouts to Brandy, who is I mean, we can go on and on about her. You know what? Shouts to the verses. I don't know if any of you remember the verses between Brandy and Monica. I think we got a clip. Let's show that, because of course that's what sparked this.
Me with my poem, y'all. Okay. We got a little minute. Okay. We've been in the game for a while. Y'all can wait for it just a little bit. Come on, y'all. All right, so listen. This is a poem I got. Okay. Shout out to Albe. We are attached to our moments to see our loved ones in our day. The names swarm into shapes, clouds, into smiles, into colors. But I feel like sounds and numbers next to names whisper that they are all still with us. Number 24 and number 8, Kobe Bryant. Number 2, Gianna Bryant. Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, Nipsey Hussle, LaShawn Daniels, Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, and all the loved ones we have lost. And this song is dedicated to them.
Woo! Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to make it. Shout outs to B reading the poetry we had worked on together. We've been working for a long time, and that's just like my friend. Sometimes, we're each other's mentor. Like, she'll drop some science on me that I'll be like, man, thank you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know where to start, but a lot of people don't know how much this lady actually writes. Out of all of the R&B artists, I've seen books and books and books and books and books and books of poetry from her. So shouts to Brandy, shouts to Monica. Monica, I can't wait to see you in ATL 2 as well. You know what I'm saying? So we had you in ATL 1. We got to get you in ATL 2. I have to be on that tour. I gotta introduce you guys, since the song is about me. No, I'm playing. All right, shouts to them. That's in Barcelona news. Since this show is kind of like really special, it's kind of poetic. It's just deep diving into lyrics and bars and in a different way. It's not just rap. I wanted to have a really special mic moment. It's gonna be a lot of poetry on this show. This mic moment is from my man Javon Johnson. Shouts to him. Shouts to Los Angeles, LA poetry scene. Check this out.
As a child, I was always into building things. Backyard clubhouses that only a select few could enter, elaborate maze-like forts. My room was almost always deeply hidden in the back. I've gotten good with these hands. Some days, y'all, I think it's all in the blood. See, my grandfather repaired pianos for a living. He could not play them very well, but it was his job to make them sound pretty. I love a woman the same way he fixed pianos. Before the music, somewhere between silence and sound, my hands, a sonata of questions, her body, all the right answers, beautiful, then slow, then all of a sudden like moonlight, she says she loves the way I use these hands. The times I've massaged her back as if her spine was the only prayer I'd ever need, when I've played in her hair and found freedom in her locks, when I've held her gently beneath her jawline and kissed her mouth as if her smile was a winning lottery ticket. Listen, my father said, as he always did when I was a child, that he would come pick me up. I waited outside for hours. Watch the sun go dim. I'm still not sure if I'm talking about the star in the sky or myself. I've never been able to trust anyone since. I love like a Brinks armored truck. I move around like people are only trying to get close enough to exploit my flaws. I pushed everyone out. I have close friends who've never seen the insides of my apartment. Long-term girlfriends who my family members don't even know their names. See, recently I was diagnosed with depression. And there are days when my heart feels like it's swallowing itself, when the lonely feels like both the problem and the cure. No one has extra concern for the boy who seems like he has it all, so I smile big because I know how easy it distracts from the dark, and I just want someone to love me hardest when I least deserve it, because those are usually the moments that I need it most. And now the love of my life just wants me to breathe, and honestly, I wish it were that easy, but most days the drowning feels too much like a cool drink of water, and who am I to ask her to drown just to keep us afloat? But honestly, who am I not to when our love feels so much like breathing? It is a crumbling church house, still worthy of all the prayer. Do you have any idea what it's like to be absolutely in love with someone you think will leave you? To wake up every day thinking this is the day she realizes she's too good for me, so I pushed her out too. And she finally left. She had enough, and I don't blame her. I would have left when I first saw the smoke. Wouldn't have waited for the entire house to burn to the ground. I don't know how to let her go. I'm still just the 8-year-old boy on the porch, just waiting.
It's a crumbling church house, still worthy of all its prayer. That's a bar. Shouts to him, because me and Javon has had extensive conversations about the poetry scene, our Mount Rushmore, and today's guest, a part of our Def Po tree, we have my Mount Rushmore, Javon's Mount Rushmore, a lot of poets' favorite poets, is on this show today. You know what? Let's start our intro. Def Poe. Here we go.
We are not this language. We are not these torn canvases. We are not the trick. We are magic. The sweet spot in the sky. We are God's access, planted, rooted like trees on stretch.
Yeah. Where we at with it? Ladies and gentlemen, I have today my man, my mellow, the legendary, the Tony Award winner, the Peabody Award winner, my man from North Philly. Do you understand? Stand up if you're in your car. Do you understand? My man Black Ice is on the show. Give it up for him. Let's come on, bring him up.
What up? Peace.
If you're in your car, stand up. You know what I'm saying? This is the man that set it off.
Oh,
my man Black Ice, North Philly's on. What's up, brother?
What's going on, bro? How you?
Oh man, there's so much to talk about. We have
it's great to see you.
Great to see you. Great to see you, man. I mean, I feel like, it's been years since we actually got in the same room together, but as a young Lord coming up as a 14-year-old kid, I heard your name. And then a friend of mine was also a mutual friend of yours. He lived down the block from me, and then he brought you to the block.
You know
what I'm saying? And you was very humble, and I got a chance to get to know you, but the world knew you as Black Ice.
And not at that point.
At that point,
it was just us. We was just regular.
It was just Lamar
cats. Yeah, it was just Lamar. I mean, I had the poetry name Black Ice, but when we met, the Def Jam stuff hadn't popped off yet.
Right.
The Def Jam stuff popped off during the time when I was in the Bronx living with Basil. Yeah. Actual factual. We both auditioned when the Def Poetry auditions were happening. And Basil actually made it to the semifinals. I didn't advance at all, even though I got I got a standing ovation from the other people that was auditioning, from Bruce George, the people who worked at the venue where the auditions was happening. At the time, I was straddling the fence with my dark side. Yeah, spiritually, it wasn't going, God don't allow you. You got to pick a team,
The name alone, Black Ice, you have to be in the street.
Yeah.
You have to be in the street to be Black Ice. I mean, my mentor, Abiodun Oyewole from The Last Poets, I've known him since I was 11 years old, and he raised me mentally, spiritually, and fed us physically. And he would talk about you. He would say, "There's that Black Ice, though. Don't go on after him."
That's the elder.
The crowd's gonna leave.
So I met, unbeknownst to him, until I told him, I grew up on them brothers, man, because my father would play Last Poets and the Watts Prophets and Wanda Robinson and Sekou Sundiata and Oscar Brown Jr. and Nikki Giovanni and Sonia Sanchez. Like, all of these elders were on vinyl. On Sunday, my pop would play jazz and poetry and great speeches when we was cleaning the house. Every now and then he allowed me to put a platter on. I put Public Enemy on. He was like, "Oh, okay, I dig that. Here go my Public Enemy." And he threw that Niggas Are Scared of Revolution on.
Ironically, Pops' name is Charles Davis. So subsequently, he's also Chuck D.
Wow. Yeah, that shit blew my mind. It blew my mind as much as Herbie Hancock, Chameleon. When my pop played that for me the first time, that's my favorite musical composition ever.
Yeah, that's one that's up there.
That's 15 minutes and 31 seconds of unadulterated, the fusion of jazz and funk in a way that we haven't heard since then. He would play it for me, and then circa somewhere in between 95 and 2000, probably closer to 95, the Twin Poets. Shout out to the Twin Poets from Delaware. At that point, it was like this story, this myth almost around the Philly poetry community, that it was this thing that used to happen on Sunday at Abiodun's house where, cats would go play basketball, then come back and the elder make you salmon cakes and rice, and you sit around and you do poetry. So it was like, what? That's happening? And then the Twin Poets was like, yo, that really happened.
I'm talking about everybody used to be there. I was 11 years old, so my mom, young Puerto Rican mom, would let me go on the train, 11, 12 years old, to Harlem, and he would make these potatoes and salmon croquettes, and he'd make it for the whole community, leave the door open, and all the poets from the community would come. But Common, Erykah Badu, everybody.
And so we only heard about this. The Twin Poets was actually attending. So one day they was like, yo, you want to roll with us? Absolutely, you know. So at that point, me and Basil and two other poets, my man Akita Hornet and Natalie Poetica, Natima, we had created this concept of this group. We wanted to do this 4 poet, 1 voice group. We wanted to figure out how to make 4 poets sound like 1 poet.
I'm not going to stop you a lot. It's just that the audience, my audience, and the world at large don't understand the timeline of spoken word. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, there were nationals and stuff like that, but there was never a team of poets that did that kind of thing.
So we embarked on that. But we were also young adults. Life was getting ready to happen in that young adult way. And then we dissipated. And then my man Aki was like, yo, you need to keep the name. And I was like, nah, sounds kind of superhero-ish. You know what I'm saying? Like, and poetry was just always to me, like, it was the real. Even though I was tired of cats trying to add something to my name. Like, you know, when I would get introduced, cats would be like, Brother Lamar. Or it'd be like, you know, Revolution, you know, it's always something, you know, goofy, right? So
Black Ice does sound like a superhero name.
And so, but for a group, the reason why I was named Black Ice was because we would go on stage and we got to perform once. We would go on stage, and obviously you see 4 poets on stage, you're expecting 4 different voices.
Like a duet.
Right, but it wasn't even a duet. It was more like
Quadet.
It was like Run DMC. Right. Run and DMC were 2 separate entities, but they rhymed as if they were one MC. Right. I'm the best, not the worst, and my name is Run, and I'm second of the record that you want to see. An MC like these and play. It was that thing. But speaking, it wasn't like a dialogue between 2 people. It was 4 people using this one voice. So that's why we chose the title of Black Ice. So when he told me, you know, you should keep the name, I was like, yeah. And I kind of tucked it. And then the Twin Poets brought me to Harlem. And actually, it was the final night of Brooklyn Moon. I want to say that was the name of the joint back in the day. It was like the biggest poetry joint that was happening in Brooklyn at the time. I want to say, was it Brooklyn Moon? But it was huge, right? They had this big, huge libation ceremony in the beginning. We calling out the ancestors and this, that, and other, but on the way over there, because we had got there late, and it was this last night of this big poetry set. They was preparing to go over to Brooklyn. So it was like, all right, bet we're going to go over. So I never got to spit. I had some slick, you know, I had from Philly, I had some like slacks and shoes on or whatever. And it was around the time that the Love Jones thing had popped off, the movie.
Oh, okay.
So automatically I think I got pegged into the like, oh, the slick Darius Love Hall ass nigga. And
which I never liked that movie.
I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I thought the poetry was, you know, shout out to my man Malik Youssef, who is my guy, my brother. But I just felt like the poetry was not of what I know Malik to be. Right. Which I didn't find out till years later that was Malik who assisted in that writing.
At the end, though, I think he came in at the end, and then he also had the soundtrack where he had that "Would you like to ride?"
Right.
And that was the first time the world heard Kanye. Nobody heard Kanye ever.
Right, that was a cold joint, though.
That was a cold joint.
And so on the way over to Brooklyn, Abiodun is in passenger seat.
He not driving?
No, it was Al and Namdi. One of the twins was driving, right?
Okay.
And I'm sitting behind the driver. And so Al or Namdi, whichever one it was like, Lamar, you know, he does poetry too. So Abiodun kind of looked in the back and was like, oh yeah, you know, like, yeah, you do, you know, you will spit something then, young brother.
Oh, that's that.
And I dropped something. And he said,
you remember what you dropped?
I'm the inherent carrier of the words of the earth. See, I've been destined to do this shit since birth, and for what it's worth, y'all call me a poet, and you and I know it. I'm hot, but see, featured or not, I don't switch my plot, while other cats who claim my vibe use they scribe for superficial and selfish needs. See, when upon the mic, my soul bleeds, life's lessons taught to me through my own indiscretions and understood because of my ancestors' blessings that flow inside me, slow, smooth, and steady, enabling me to, whenever I'm ready, get deep, wide, and heavy like I am ever existent. Been lyrically proficient since my before life, and so on. I flow on like the astrological symbol of my sun sign, fluently moving from one line to the next. I flex like an MC, some say, but I only drop shit to portray the truth, proof that I am what I claim to be. Like Black Ice, you should not aim to be. It's plain to see that I be verbally advanced, not designed to make you dance, but enhance your frame of thought. The football I never caught wasn't inclined athletic, creating me to express myself aesthetically. Theoretically, I got the souls of 10,000 poets rest in me. They keep blessing me, impressing me to make y'all feel shit. They say, Mar, distinguish the real shit from the mass appeal shit. If that's the deal, shit, I could keep flowing. Blowing microphones as I walk the desolate wastelands of our collective mind state, doing what I have to open our third eye to is blind state. I rhyme straight, no chaser, born into the world through my mother and father to replace the negative with the positives. Y'all can't choose to. I don't refuse to. That's how I gotta live. I gotta get back when it's been gracious to give it to me. And sometimes my rhyming lines flow in continuous motion because the antithesis emotion runs through me. Who your crew be? Some Jack Lake squad of poets with the wrong thesis, with your ooh, I need some pussy tonight pieces. While I be cleansing you vaginal verbalists with lyrical douches, sliding in and out of beat tracks like snakes through bushes. The DJ pushes the whole button, puts the beat on pause. I add 4 more bars to make you niggas drop your jaws. I'm a rebel with a cause, so competition unnecessary. I'm the Mar nigga, verbal mercenary. I'm diverse, I vary like a kaleidoscope. My styles is dope, they change swiftly. That's the gift. See, you can't spit with me. You better off trying to get with me for lyrical instruction because I got classy. Verbally, I'm like the remnants that Southern Comfort in your shot glass. I drop blast like Holyfield, nigga. My shape firm. Rhymes go up in your gut and make you queasy like a tapeworm. These niggas is weak, so I don't waste my time trying to write them lyrics so stripped down, sounding like they use perms to write them. They don't excite them. Nigga, what you think up, don't link up. Need to wait a couple weeks and let your shit kink up. And
you need to wait a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then he looked back and he said, damn, bro, I wasn't expecting that. I haven't said that poem in so long. And he said, man, I wasn't expecting that. You like Black Ice, man. He's like, I slipped up on you. So that was the first ding. Right? That was the first ding. Like, oh shit, the elder just said, like, that's how he described me. He don't know I got this thing tucked in my back. 2 weeks later, I'm at a tribute for Sonia Sanchez in Philly. And I get up there after I finish reciting. I come down. Mama say, young brother, you know how Sonia talk. Young brother, come here, young brother. That was a young brother. Have you ever heard of the term Black Ice? I was not expecting that, young brother. I was not expecting that. That was amazing. And that was the second day. So at that point, I'm like, man, 2 elders, I could take on the description. So I never took it on as a name more than I took it on as a description, right? So it wasn't necessarily like my name is Black Ice. It's more like who I am is Black Ice. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a metaphor for the work that comes through me.
I always love the name and because the streets make Black Ice. Black Ice don't fall from the ground, from the sky. Right. The streets make them.
It's the cold, right? It's the temperature. It's the temperature of the streets. And I never, for all the ways I have described that and thought about that over the years, brother, that's the first time that I ever even, right?
Yeah. It embodies, and I just remember, I just praise God. I remember so many people.
You see me, I'm looking for a pen.
I remember.
So I can remember that.
Again, when Def Po comes out, and just the year before you're on Def Po, you're on fire. Everybody in the community has heard about this kid from Philly. And I'm like, yeah, I'd been knew about son. I was like proud when I first saw it, right? And then a piece comes out. I want everybody to see this piece. You had that red Fat Farm on. But what I want to say before I play it is that LimeWire and Kazaa and Napster was out. And like your voice cut through a lot of stuff that was going on. You got to understand, like Eminem is like really big right now. It's 2000, Dr. Dre, West Coast, 2001. Here's this kid that we're just listening to. We don't even know. We know Saul Williams because he had the Slam movie, and
we know Jessica because of Apollo and Nas.
Out of nowhere, you became one of the most shared poets on those feeds, those LimeWires and the Kazaas, and I don't know how much you know of that because that was before streaming was streaming.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this poem that we're about to see right here on the That's a Bar podcast, we got to watch this like it just came out. Close your eyes and listen to it how we heard it. You know what I'm saying?
Black Ice.
Yeah, first episode.
Now see, I ain't no player hater, but I'll hate a player if you push me. See, nigga, while you stand there using all your heart trying to look the part with your cold, still eyes, nigga, you don't realize you just pussy. for sale. Now see, I would call you female, but you too frail. While she held queen, I mean your existence is fractionally vaginal. Like the slits of the whores you use to suit your feeble needs. You know saturated soil and faulty fertilizer. Sure your future seeds will be just like you, pussy, for sale. On corner auction blocks, lost flocks of brethren, now invested in by this America with stocks of cocaine. Temporary monetary gain in exchange for eternal pain. While the stain of your false reality remains an ever imprinted actuality on your kids and in your kids, as they too have to suffer with you through the bids. Just kids. Try not to let those lonely echoes bother. Knowing that father does not answer when they holler due to his undying infatuation with a dollar. Has been street scholar, now sees his toddlers through glass. And as the years pass, they grow fast and begin to understand. Damn, Dad didn't have to go away from us because he didn't love us. Just that he wasn't no real fucking man. I'd be like, oh damn. That's that cat that changed his name from David to Ayatollah. High roller, Motorola soldier, Tech 9 under his polar ass nigga. Don't know his future or past nigga, but that fast trigger got this die-cast 40-ounce swigger thinking his shit is bigger than mine. Nigga, it's not surprising to find that your state of mind got you parking that $63,000 Lexus Flex right outside your mother's hard-earned $22,000 duplex. You know, the one right next to the projects where pseudo-elated, coke gang created, crime-related manhood got you ass out, nigga. Getting high till you pass out, nigga. Quick way up, fast way out, nigga. How you figure your shit is bigger than mine? Man, I tell you, these fucked up times and hardcore rhymes got you throwing up gang signs and claiming coats or shades of color with shameless boasts of emotionless lovers that gazed upon that ice that cluttered that pendant of that religion you do not follow. Your faith has evaporated and made your soul hollow. Childhood dreams turned pharmaceutical schemes got you fucking with triple beams. Cap peeling, robbing and stealing for a piece of this fucked up American pie ass nigga. Ready to die ass nigga, fly ass nigga. Sit you in a cell, you probably cry ass nigga. How the fuck you figure your shit is bigger than mine? I see you, diamond blinking, Cuban linking, and full-length minking, all strung out on disillusional thinking. And as the government subsidizes these laboratory high-rises with new chemical surprises, you continue to hide your true self behind movie gangster disguises, oblivious to what life's true prize is, equating stupidity with the length you think your dick size is. The truth in your eyes is falsified, fabricated, while you sit and wait for your fate to be debated by juries and judges who've held over 450 years worth of grudges. Nigga, get back, sit back and rediscover how to be an honest father, loyal lover, righteous brother, and not just another motherfucking
nigga. Yo, I mean, I want to get into it though, man. I want to get into it because just even the way you would layer your last word as the start of the next sentence, I would like to thank you for that, Chico.
Oh man. Oh yeah. We thank the God, you know what I'm saying? Like we thank Rakim, you know what I'm saying? Like Rakim, that was a twist. I always wanted to combine the power of Chuck with the prowess, with the lyrical prowess and intricacy of Rakim. As a poet and an MC prior to, because I had a record out in 1988 as a kid. I was 16, but that's who I was aiming. I wanted to change the landscape the way Public Enemy did.
You did.
I watched cats.
You did.
Put
brother.
their gold chains down and start wearing black Africa medallions. You know what I'm saying, behind Public Enemy.
I watched poets stop talking like this because when we heard you say sit in the cell and probably cry ass nigga, there was no poet other than the last poets. There was no poets. You're gonna have to fact check me and bring that thing out. But there was no spoken word artist that was giving the raw of the street, like a street nigga would have to listen to Black Ice and take some tutelage.
And even that was
that
Saul Slam. That one part of that movie when he was in the yard and he did Shaklack Clack.
There's no disrespect to Saul Williams. I mean, I was
no, but I'm saying as a black man
right.
who was at the time, I'm a barber by trade, right? So I'm in the barbershop. Yeah. When I first moved to the Bronx, I was funny enough how life goes. I started working at Levels Barbershop. I got a job at Levels the week before I moved to New York. I cut Basil's hair as a demo, and Kamal, who was one of the proprietors of the Levels chain, who I didn't know was one of the Ziggy posse. Toss It Up was one of my favorite dance joints. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's an anthem in Philly. I didn't know that. So with Saul though, because being a barber, that poem was written. That poem was actually, the name of the poem was Front Page. It was 2 poems actually. The beginning was one poem in itself called Pussy for Sale, right? And then when I say pussy for sale, we'll call you female, but you too frail. And then when that poem is done and I say, I look at the paper like, oh, damn, that's the start of Front Page. Front Page, and because you can only do one poem. But I knew Front Page.
Back then you could only do one poem?
Well, no, remember, the rules of Def Poetry were you do one poem and the poem has to be less than 2 minutes, 30 seconds. It wouldn't air if it was over 2 minutes, 30 seconds. That was Stan's sweet spot. So when I timed the poems, I timed Pussy for Sale and Front Page. And I was like, oh, they both of them together fall underneath 2:30. I felt like Front Page starting out like, oh, damn, that's that cat that changed his name from David to Ayatollah. I felt like that was a very regional thing. Like that was a Philly thing because Philly, we have the highest converted Muslim population in the country. That's that cat that changed his name from David to Ayatollah was a very Philly reference, right? I roll a Motorola Soldier Tech 9 under his polar ass nigga, don't know his future or past nigga. That was but so during the time, the day that I wrote that, the muse of those pieces were, I had a client came through the barbershop who I had a lot of street cats. They pay what they weigh. There was a time when one of my hardworking clients, I know that he budgets that $20 out of his paycheck.
Right.
And then one of my players came through and he usually, when I would slide him in front of somebody, today I couldn't because my hard worker had something to do. And usually he would fall back and let me do that. This day he couldn't wait. So I told my man, like, hey man, you can't. And this cat, the street cat, we went to school together. So I say, man, I need you to hold up. And he snapped on me. So I just snapped back on him. I had to let him know, like, listen, dog, I may see you once a month. Now, when you come through, you might give me $80, $90.
Right.
And I appreciate that. But then I won't see you again. I may see you every week, but I might not see you for a whole month and a half. And that's all street money. You don't care about that money. You don't care. Like, you don't have no appreciation for that dough you giving me. You get that same dough. You give more dough to the stripper. As street players go, they had a less appreciation for the paper that came through their hands. So, and I told him, I said, my man works at the gas company. He comes here and he has been coming to me since before I working at this barbershop. And if he got it, usually he'll let me slide somebody in, but the day he can't. So today you got to wait. And my man who I went to school with, street nigga. Yeah, and we almost came to blows. So that top of that first pussy for sale, I ain't no player hater, but I'll hate a player if you push me.
Yeah.
So nigga, while you stand there with all your heart trying to look the part with your cold still eyes, nigga, you don't realize you just pussy for sale. Because that's what I saw a lot of these dudes who got pseudo self-esteem from the street game. It's like, really, nigga, you really just a pussy.
But even that bar of, pussy is also, you scared. You're scared.
Right,
nigga.
right. That's what I mean. You a scared cat. Yeah. I mean,
then you added the next layer of for sale.
Right. You low hanging fruit. You feel me? You low hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying? You pussy for sale. Not only are you not even put like you a scared cat. Like, you scared to be the man you supposed to be. That's the pussy I'm talking about. Not even on no, oh, you a pussy street nigga. No, you a pussy to manhood. So a couple things happened that day in the barbershop. It was 2 big time, let's say kingpins on the street. They was in there and their sons was in there at the time. Their sons were like 5 years old and they got into a little scuffle and they let them fight, right? And it felt like a dog fight to me, right? It felt like 2 very irresponsible fathers, who didn't even know they were being irresponsible, right? Because if 2 little boys get into a scuffle and nobody's around, they scrap it out, pecking order, right? But if it's a bunch of grown men around, you don't let 2 young brothers, you don't let 2 boys who's supposed to be friends go fisticuff. They 5 years old. They don't need to know that aspect. They're not defending themselves. They're violating a friendship. But us as barbers, even though we knew that we should have stepped in, we knew we couldn't step in because of these drug dealers, these gangsters, that would have been met with a mind your fucking business, right? And so this is where the divide in Black manhood and brotherhood comes in. Because you got brothers who are good brothers like ourselves servicing these cats who are not bad cats, but just, reared the wrong way. And now we can't even be the brothers we supposed to be to say, yo, man, let's break this up. because this looming energy of bullshit social cred had, social, social currency, this bullshit bravado that we give social currency to.
A lot of people in Philadelphia survived off of it. Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like just you fearing me allowed me to walk around in a certain way.
So that's where that's from. Front pages from. And so that day, indictments, a big indictment came down in the 90s, where it was the Daily News put everybody's picture that got indicted in the first like 6 pages of the newspaper. And so we in the barbershop in our chairs, and I serviced a lot of drug dealers at that time. And we were just in the barbershop, like, damn, counting the money up that we was getting ready not make. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was it had to be about 70 something people got indicted in one day. And so when I went home, that was the same day that they let the little boys fight. When I went home and I said, oh, damn, that's that cat that changes. It was really like me looking at the newspaper. Like, oh, damn, that's that cat that changed his name from David to Ayatollah.
Yeah.
Roller soldier taking out under his pole ass. Nigga don't know his future or past, nigga, but that fast trigger got this die cast 40-ounce swigger thinking his shit is bigger than mine. But that was also to my man, because you think that you are more important than the working man. It was that. That's where that poem was mused from, man. It was a very organically written poem. I was angry. I knew that I needed to get it out, and I flushed it out, or the signal was strong enough that day for it to flush out in the way that it was supposed to.
I took a pause from you from that piece. When I finally get to the stage of Def Poetry, I've told this story before, but like, anytime somebody goes on the mic before you, you look at them and you assess, oh, what you doing with the crowd? Oh, if you don't know what to do with it, they're gonna love me, right? Like, if you're not handling that right, as soon as I get on there, it's
you gotta assess the energy. You gotta read the room,
right? And so I had to, in practice, Stan had this kid go before me, and I was just so happy. I was like, oh man, whew.
Oh yeah.
And I went and I told myself I'm gonna take a cab back to Brooklyn. A cab wouldn't stop for me. Right. And I wrote a poem called Super Negro right there, saying that the cab's not stopping for me because of my powers. Right. So when I got back to Def Po to do these other poems, they switched the lineup and Sonia Sanchez walks out to an ovation.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was the mama though. That was the
how am I going? Where am I? So I had a cheesy love poem that I knew it wasn't cheesy, but it was just, I knew what it was gonna do to the New York crowd and relationships and stuff like that. And I just went out there with the paper and I was like, I'm a Willie Perdomo this. And I
shout out to Willie Perdomo.
Shout out to Wills. I read it from the joint and I said, and so I'm talking about all these attributes of a super Negro. And I go,
usually my majestic self don't concern with rumors. However, ladies, it's true. I am not a Republican.
Right.
Remember that.
You did a lot of nuances that people wasn't doing, B. You just they wasn't in the spoken word world. You know what I'm saying? I want to show you something. I really want to see your reaction to this.
Tony Award, the best special theatrical event goes to Russell Simmons' Def Poetry Jam on Broadway.
Accepting the award for Russell Simmons' Def Poetry Jam on Broadway, producer Russell Simmons.
Big Stan Lathan.
Big Stan.
Poetry. Georgia Me, Bosia.
Poetry,
Maya,
Maida Del Valle, Tendaji,
Stacey
Chen,
Lemon Anderson,
Steve
and of
Coleman,
course, Steve Coleman,
Suhair Hamad,
and the legendary Black Ice.
Yeah, man, that was a night, man. Like,
congratulations, sir. Because just like documentaries crept into the Oscars, poetry and the raw of our people in the street.
We snuck on and
And
killed and hammered them and hammered the Great White Way for almost a year straight. They thought we was only gonna last 30 days. We got the best review from what's the brother name? I think his name was Brent Brantley. Who at the time, who was like the most critical, he was like the most sought after Broadway critic.
That's right.
Wow. And he was
that
like,
time?
yeah, he was like, yo, I haven't seen a show this great on Broadway since in 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So, which was ill. Like,
what I find fascinating was that you were in a group called Black Ice, and y'all were doing somewhat of what that Tony Award garnished. Once again, no one was having a team where poems were
collabo pieces,
collabing pieces. And then when we saw that, we became comfortable. The National Poetry Slam competition grew even further because watching you guys, it reminds me of what the Last Poets did to poetry. Before the Last Poets came on, people would hold their glasses and just read.
It was pretty much the bebop. It was the bebop movement before the Last Poets came with that Black Power shit.
And the drum and the speed and the intensity. And so when I see that first season and I see you on this stage of with the red Fat Farm shirt, which we all thought all of the class was getting free Fat Farm clothes. I want you to,
because of all of the wardrobe shit that was in. But
I mean, poetry had Fat Farm sweaters we ain't see. Stehan was coming through with some jeans that we ain't never see. Let us know, all of the poets. Was that's what was happening? Y'all was getting free stuff?
See, I had a separate relationship, right? Because there was Def Poetry happening. But then when I met Russell, the night that the final pitch to HBO at Soul Cafe, because that's when I met Russell, right? Because I didn't get picked for nothing. I didn't advance during the auditions. Danny Simmons, Deborah Point, and Bruce George, founders of Def Poetry, right? They were holding a competition at Soul Cafe. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go in this competition. I had never been in a competition before. 8-week competition. You could enter every week. I was like, shit, I got about 13 poems, so I know I can, I got enough to last around. And I went and I won the first, I want to say 4 weeks I won, because you could compete each week. So I was like, well, shit, it's 8 weeks. If I win this bitch 6 weeks in a row, I didn't sweep it. Technically, you're saying,
right. And back in those days, we all had chat books and CDs. We're gonna come off some cash if we kill it. If we do
I didn't get, and I wasn't even doing nothing. That I was just wrecking, and it was really
I was just wrecking.
I was just wrecking. You know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to come through and wreck it, you know. And so Danny at one point was like, "Hey, nigga, don't compete no more. Matter of fact, I want you to chill and open up for Faraji." You ain't heard that name in forever. You know what I'm saying? Faraji, Jessica Caramore, Steve Coleman, Sarah Jones, because they were making their final pitch to HBO at Soul Cafe. So I chilled, and so I was opening up, and I had heard of Jessica, I had heard of Sarah Jones, I had heard of Faraji and Steve Coleman. They had all came down to Philly, you know, to the couple poetry sets in Philly. So I was a fan of them. And then that was the night I met, you know, because Gordon Parks, you know, rest in peace, Gordon Parks came with Stan Lathan that night. And so that was the night that I got up there. And once I saw Russell and them come in, I was like, all right, I know what I got to do. You know, I wrecked shop. And then when I came back down the street, I literally had like a Prince moment, like Purple Rain. Remember when he, at the Purple Rain, he jumped off the stage, and he went back to the dressing room, like that whole, not just another mother, fucking, and not saying that last nigga and jumping off stage. I decided to do that then.
I feel like the world heard that.
Right, like I decided, I got myself so.
That audio was the audio I was talking about that was out. It wasn't Def Po. That audio of your live performance in that thing, that was out. We remember hearing the crowd and all that. But
you remember Soul Cafe?
Soul Cafe.
The stage was right by the door, right?
Right.
So I was like, oh, we gonna work it up. That last verse, that last stanza, we gonna work that motherfucker. We gonna work ourselves up so hype that all we can do is not say that last nigga and hop off the stage and walk out the door, right? Like that was my whole intent. Like get so like not like I didn't replicate it on that poetry.
No,
like that moment, like that moment of, I mean, it was like just another, and I was out. when I came and I walked up 42nd Street all the way to the, but it was like, finish the scene. Myself was like, nigga, finish the scene. You got to keep walking. Like you don't stop right now. That's not the that's not the scene. You got to go all the way up to the corner to the Port Authority. You know what I'm saying? And catch your breath and then turn around and walk back. So I walked, and when I turned around, Russell had came outside. So when I walked, Russell was looking for me when I came back down the street. He was like, yo, and, he's like, who's your producer? Who you want, who you work with? I was like, I want to work with you. And he was like, and that's when he gave me his number, said he was going to connect me with blah, blah, blah. Right after that, I called my pop. Like literally, he walked back in the restaurant. He walked back in the restaurant. I picked up the phone, called my pop. My pop, very cool the way he was. He was, hey man, well, how's your self-esteem? Where your gusto at? That was his question. How's your self-esteem? Well, self-esteem is high. Where your gusto at? In place, okay. Don't take no wooden nickels. Congratulations. And we got off the phone. So now go back to the Tonys. I took my pop to the Tonys with me. Right? Like me and my pop walked the red carpet together. I didn't even want to walk the red carpet. I don't like red carpets. My pop was like, what? Come on. And we went and got fitted for our tuxes, and I sent him a limo. I sent him a limo with a black woman driver. Bought him. We could only bring one guest, and my mom was locked up at the time. Whole long story. My mom was locked up at the time, but it was apropos. It was like divine order, because if my mom was out, I wouldn't have took my father.
Right.
I would have took my mom, but
Mama gotta go. Mama gotta go.
Right.
And you was performing that night as well.
Right, and we performed, yeah. And so Def Poetry on Broadway was the first Broadway show to ever perform twice in one Tony Award. Right before Danny Glover introduced and announced the winner, Tony Braxton introduced us, and we performed on the award show inside Radio City Music Hall. That's why we all came from backstage.
Correct.
Because we had just finished performing. And then afterwards, the last number of the show was Billy Joel and us in Times Square. So we were the first show to perform on the Tony Awards twice in one show.
Shouts to Billy Joel.
Shout out to Billy Joel,
No, but not only that, you was also one of the first poets in our community of brothers, and you was one of the first poets to really be signed as an artist to Def Jam as well.
Funny enough, Saul Williams had his deal with Island, with Island. He was signed to Island before I was signed to Def Jam.
Okay.
To a hip hop label, I was the first poet signed to any hip hop major label. And then I wound up my first album wound up coming out on Koch. Because Def Jam just kind of I was an anomaly. They didn't, it was a tricky thing trying to figure out how to, for them.
It still hasn't been figured out.
They still haven't figured it out, But I just feel like it wasn't for them to figure out, it's for us to figure out.
That's right.
Poetry is the jazz of language. To me, that's how I approach it. I approach it like a jazz player. So my whole view of it is like, okay, if you're looking for superstardom, this is not the genre of art. This is not the discipline of art that we are jazz players. We the Miles Davises, we the John Coltrane's, we the Sunrise and the Thelonious Monks and the Minguses. Like we are the Sammy Davis Jr.'s, the Sandmans, the, Hines brothers, when it comes to dancing, we are the hoofers. You got tap dancers, then you got hoofers. In poetry, I always got, you got poets who write poetry, and then you got heavy talkers who who sing things like "Winter in America" or "Home was where the hatred is" or "The revolution will not be televised" or niggas are scared of revolution, or like those are the heavy talk, the Amiri Barakas, the Last Poets, the Watts Prophets, the Sekou Sundiatas, the Gills, the Sonias, the Nickies.
Amir Suleiman.
Oh yeah, but this is our generation, right?
Amir. I'm sorry.
I was mentioning the elders. Yeah.
You're right. And I feel like rap stole the poets. I feel like Chuck D probably would have went from radio to, because he was a host. Him and his bag of his bag of art would have kind of translated well as a spoken word artist as well.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you have music kind of like not only was paying the bills, but it felt different.
Well,
When
to
you know what
me,
I'm saying?
it's like rap. What Rakim said. You know what I'm saying rap is rhythm and poetry. My favorite MC like Chuck and Big Daddy Kane and De La Soul and all of these cats, man. When you take the beat away and you listen to some of these, even Hove and all, one of my favorite tracks, my favorite hip hop tracks is a Hove track.
Which is that?
Meet the Parents.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You can go and watch episode 1 or 2. I'm not sure if that's a bar. I literally said my whole life's career is 3 verses. It's like White Dress from Ye, Meet the Parents from Jay, and Rabbit Run from Eminem. And here's this, it's a piece. It's not a song. There's
it's the most.
It's a poem.
It's a Donald Goins book.
Shout outs to Donald Goins.
If you read Whore's Son by Donald Goins, that is Meet the Parents. That's what.
Although I was turned on that she had to shower twice. How ironic it would
take a trip down memory lane at the cemetery. Rain, gray skies, seems at the end of every young black life. It's this line. Damn, him already such a good kid. Got us pouring hen already, licking to the curb for my niggas up above. When it cracks through the payment, that's our way of sending love. So give Big a hug. Tell Aaliyah I said hi. Till the next time I see her on the other side, he was just some thug who caught some slugs, and we liked him because in him we saw some of us. He walked like us. He talked like us. Nigga back against the wall, nigga fought like us. Damn. Poor Isis. That's his mama name. Mama ain't strong enough to raise no boy. What's his father name? Shorty never knew him, though he had his blood in him. Hot temper. Mama said he act just like a husband. Daddy never fucked with him, so the streets raised him. Isis blaming herself. She wish she could have saved him. Damn near impossible.
Only men can raise men.
He was his home thing. Not even him could save him. He put his faith in her. 38 in his waist, but when you live by the gun, you die by the same fate. End up dead before 38, and that's the life of us raised by winner. It's a cold world.
Yo, but you did that. Now I hear a lot of Black Ice in that verse, and like you feel what I'm saying? You guys were signed to the same label. No, my man. Now, but Hove's Meet the Parents is the epicenter of what Hove does to me. Like also like friend of foe, yo, state your biz. And the dope, huh? There it is. Me, I run the show. Oh, and these kids, there it is. And these are not words, but you guys use them to sound like in your sentences, and also for the hit of how y'all feel. Like, right. Mama can't raise no boy. What's his father name? Like, it's like Shorty never knew him. Like, it's the way you narrate.
Yeah.
I want to go into this segment right now. This is a perfect time. This is a perfect segue to this segment that we have on That's a Bar, and it's called Mount Barsmo. It's hip hop Slizzo, really with the shits though, cause the flute case got the thing with extendos. My live on do say, fuck what you and you say, paralyze your engineer and upload the bootlegs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to ask Black Ice, the legendary spoken word poet, what was his Mount Rushmore of poems? What's his? We already know you got. Well, Meet the Parents. We rap and poetry. You could do whatever you want. You've already defined it. So Meet the Parents could be up there on your Mount Rush.
Of verses.
If you knew a verse, you carved that in your brain. The verse is the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, my Mount Rushmore of verses are Niggas Are Scared of Revolution. When you talk about a verse that was written so long ago that you can play right now and it applies to right now. Niggas Are Scared of Revolution. Life's a Bitch, AZ's verse on Life's a Bitch.
How'd that go, Ice?
Visualizing the realism of life and actuality. Fuck who's the baddest. A person's status depends on salary, and my mentality is money orientated. We destined to live the dream for all my peeps who never made it. Cause yeah, we were beginners in the hood as 5%ers, but something must have got in us because all of us turned to sinners. Now some resting in peace and some are sitting in St. Quentin. Others such as myself are trying to carry on tradition, keeping this rougher essence, street ghetto essence inside us because it provides us with the proper insights to guide us. Even though we know somehow we all gotta go, but as long as we leaving thieving, we'll be leaving with some kind of dough. So until the day we expire and turn to vapors, me and my capers will be somewhere stacking plenty papers, keeping it real, packing still getting high, because life's a bitch. And then yeah.
AZ, man. He
That-
had this. He
that verse right
that
there.
verse right there. Yeah.
Visualizing the realism of life and actuality. Fuck who's the baddest. A person's status depends on salary, and my mentality is money orientated. I'm just, and it just the piano playing of the words. It was like it's a concerto playing the piano. Visualizing the realism of life and actuality. Fuck who's the baddest. A person's status depends on salary. And my
It's funny. It's funny you say that.
mentality.
It's funny you point that out. Piano is a percussion instrument, really. But Rakim kind of said that when he was like, "I play like a trumpet," or I play like a saxophone.
Yeah, he feels like his voice was saxophone because he does a lot of
But
you know what
I mean? Like, like I thought that was really interesting.
That would be my third verse. And I love all Rakim verses. Rakim is the one MC I can go back to and listen to and still find new things.
Mm.
And it used to be What's Going On by Rakim, right? What's happening? It's been so long. What's going on? We used to go when the first verse he's talking about his man who got hooked on drugs. The second verse he's talking about his man who got snatched up by the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like he gave you these three friendships.
Yeah.
That the crack era took away from me.
Yeah.
You know, from abuse, from substance abuse to substance sales to the last verse, which was really just about a friendship going awry because they both got. That was my first, but then when Know the Ledge came out.
Oh my God, yo, Ice, we're like the same person, bro.
Yo, Know the Ledge is just kind of like
even that vibrato of finding, because as an MC, when you find something that no one's done yet, you kind of get happy, right? You ever wrote a line and you're like,
oh yeah,
you're looking around to see if anybody can hear your thoughts. You're like, hold on.
When it comes through you like that, like, oh,
you know what I'm saying? So I know you gotta know when Rakim said, "Let's see if you know the ledge," and he's talking about knowledge the whole time.
Right, know the ledge. You know what I'm saying? Know the ledge, do the knowledge, which is a 5%er phrase. Like this is why Rakim to me was up until Tyreek did the 10-minute long drop on Funk Flex.
Oh yeah.
Like Rakim was my number 2 now because Black Thought became my number 1, my favorite MC.
Out of control.
Like
I took
I'll put Black Thought up against anybody.
To the wall, or what's that on the wall? He go, what's that on the wall? That's depending what you call art. I'm gonna say 300K, and even in the ballpark, I charge more for an awkward small talk. So yes, who's fucking with it if it's not the best? I get the lobby painted fresh upon my request. But wait, hold on. Know the Ledge also opened up Juice. And then that
Juice, I got enough to go around, and the thought takes place uptown. That last verse, what do you say? How he start that last verse off? I'm late for school. Something's on. Morning's on. The power's on. Shower's on. Late for school. I catch the train. Girls sip my style. You know what I'm saying? Girls see my style and whisper my name. I push up like an exercise. Check the intellect and inspect the thighs. Select the best one, pull it to the side, keep you occupied for the rest of the ride. Reading my resume. She know I'm ready, cool. Just meet me after school. We can moan and groan until your mom comes home. And you'll be calling me out, dope Capone, sweating me. She didn't want to let me loose, come get me. That's if you want to sip the juice, but the streets await me. So I take my gun off safety because a lot of niggas hate me. Coming out of the building, they set me up. Spray with automatics, they wet me up. In a puddle of blood, I lay close to the edge. Guess I didn't know the ledge.
I guess I didn't know for him to even be in a climate like Kane and KRS and everything, for him to be vulnerable. I guess I didn't know the ledge.
I guess I didn't know. Like it was such a beautiful cautionary tale, right? Like and then also such the beautiful contradiction of the movie Juice in itself, right? Like this whole you got the juice now. You got to understand what it is when they say you got the juice. You know what I'm saying? Remember going back to the beginning of the record,
Sip
the juice.
I got enough,
which is an illusion. Like
right.
That's the whole shit. It's like it's an illusion. Yo, you know what I'm saying? Which goes to like these are the man.
Mine's was verbal intercourse. Through the lights, cameras, and action, glamour, glitters, and gold, I unfold the scroll. Seeds to stampede the globe. When I'm deceased, my inner beast to rise like geese and cop peace, leaving savages to roam in the streets, live on the run. Police paying me to give in my gun.
Right.
He said he said something on there. He says he's talking about girls, like, you know what I mean? And he was like holding weed inside their pussy with their minds on their pretty things in life. Props is a true thug's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Before then, I didn't really see lines get laid out like that. You know, everybody's telling the story, like, give me the loot. And they're like head forward. And even Know the Ledge is straightforward. You know what I'm saying? That's a bar. Props is a true thug's wife is something that an uncle would say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like how he was fit, how Nas fit bars in there, like even like I went to hell for snuffing Jesus, it's still forward, it's still the concept, but Props is a true thug's wife doesn't have to come out in these lines. He says it like, and that kind of formed a lot of the bars and how people rap today. Like Big L was definitely inspired by that. You know what I'm saying? Like lines like that. Like I got more keys than janitors. Like when they started like really playing with your brain and seeing the actual text of the poet. I want to read something for you. These cops be surgical with the tool, shot in the face, make it swell up, stop your aging process. But I guess it's just par for the course. Of course, you're all in, making the holes shiny enough for y'all to fall in. Crabs in a basket fighting for position only to get the
niggas get the crawling.
Only you the even though there's an accident bar with crawfish. Like there's an accident bar with choosing like crabs in a basket and then choosing niggas only get the crawl.
Right. I was playing around with the idea of, they make the hole shiny enough for y'all to fall in. Crabs in a basket fighting for position. Right. So I was like crabs in the basket fighting for position. So it's crabs in the basket, crabs pull each other down.
Yeah, they say barrel. They say crabs in a barrel.
Crabs in a barrel. You chose basket because I was talking about basketball. So I'm thinking crabs in a basket fighting for position. You know what I'm saying? Crabs in the basket fighting for position. Y'all niggas get to crawling. You know what I'm saying? Y'all niggas get to, niggas get to crawl in. So it's also crawl in, but also y'all niggas get to clamoring for each other. Right? And then I wanted to put another, in my head, I wanted to put another line like, something about foul, something about being foul, but it's all Gucci, niggas is balling, right? Like I wanted to turn it into something like that, but then I left it alone for a second as poems
You repeated
go.
the line.
Right. So I repeated it. I left it. So that was I wanted to keep going with it, but then the signal got weak, right? So I just left it alone. And then one day I was on the plane, I was listening to some news. Trump had got elected.
This is the first time.
No, this was the second. This was the second verse of that came last year. right before I recorded the record. So the second verse is, these regime shifts like sculpted noses, chiseling the nation's profile, but the mask still slips, exposing poses underneath, still crass and vile. Lip service relaced with Botox smiles, protecting something shallow, injecting hope in shallow fillers, crafting dreams with docile guile, preserving power, puppet killers, economic facelifts can't conceal the hollow eyes of hunger's plight, and a tummy tuck won't make a meal. You see the poor stay gaunt, despite suburban facades, well tucked in neat, hiding the rod of poverty's reach. Behind veneers of plastic deceit, they manicure the pain they breach, and the children grow up in carved out spaces, shaped by scissors of systemic shear, taught to wear the prettiest faces, while the knife of want cuts clear. But knife edge policies, they fail to mask the truth, to heal the hurt, and band-aids on wounds that still assail. No surgery can mend the dirt. Yet beneath the grasp and sutures, the same old sores, they still persist in the nation's raw, distorted futures, wrapped in cellophane and tightly kissed. Something not to scar the soul, and no cosmetic fix could ever trade true wellness for fake control. So we live out as pawns in this perplexed parade, pretending beauty when we know there's none, while underneath the same charade plays out underneath the surging sun. For when the lights come up, and then we see the scars that were left in the spin. Yeah, I see you got a facelift, but you the same ugly bitch you always been. Because that whole poem was about I stitched together plastic surgery and governmental regime change. Right, so it starts out, this nation is nip tuck trickery. Smoke mirrors and foggy glasses where they perform plastic surgery on the president's face to pacify the masses. This the land of stock crashes, the Fannie Mae Extreme Makeover Edition, where we roast the middle class until they bake into submission. Precision budget cuts leave unseen scars. So by puberty, poverty is imprisoned behind bars, unnoticeable by the untrained eye. It's an unchained lie. A reality show is poorly written and surely scripted, where we kindly play the part of the smitten and easily predicted. What was previously inflicted through covert acts and espionage is now a full frontal menage starring the crooked politicians, the haves and the have-nots. These cops get surgical with the tools, blast shots in your face, make it swell up, stop your aging process. I guess it's just par for the course. Of course, y'all all in. They make the hole shiny enough for y'all to fall in, yeah.
DeAndre, and sometimes you're paralleling, like you're like you have this meeting and this meeting, and they both going adjacent they're going to the same place. They're not even behind each other. They like really going to the same place. You had this other line where you was like, I pray that I remain a margin of time and an experience that brought about a better you. And I know you're talking to a girl, but the way you said it, right? The way you say it, I feel like the more people that know your poetry and recite the piece, they walk away with thinking of themselves better. Like you always have a medicine.
Give thanks to that. Yeah. Appreciate that. Is that
always is resolve always your
I think as I've gotten older, again, those early poems were shot. I really, like I was younger, right? I was hot-headed.
Black Ice.
I wanted to shock and awe. I wanted to leave a motherfucker stuck too, right? That was my thing. Like when I was watching poets, if we are purist performers, right? We're gonna watch other performers and other poets, whatever the discipline, and we're figuring out where we fit at in this salad. Like, okay, where does my vegetable fit at? You know what I'm saying? Wow, and so for me, I called it a dismount, because there's I call it when you perform, like none of my pieces are ever 5 minutes long. My pieces are always no longer than 3.5 minutes, right? Because my mom always said, listen, if you're talking for more than 5 minutes, you done said the same thing twice. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, You know, so make your point.
Shouts to Mom Dukes, man.
Make your point and get
love.
about the Dodge. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
So,
That's right. You said it already. You said that already. You touched that. Move on.
right. You know, and
So
so
resolve is at this end, and you call it the dismount.
yeah, but because performing wise, right? Performing wise, you wanna boom, right? And you want to be able to hit that uneven, that last vault, that last roundabout on the uneven bars. You want to come down and stick the landing and get the high score. You know, nothing worse to me than having taken me on a verbal trip. And then at the end, you kind of like, you know, all of a sudden it's this bumpy, turbulent and landing. It's like, man, that was such a luxurious flight. And now, you know what I'm saying? I done spilled my drink on the last, you know what I'm saying, on the last part of the flight. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's a bad dismount. You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%.
You know,
I'm all about resolve myself. I don't think we got your fourth poem. I think we have your fourth piece. We have Know the Ledge.
Right.
We have
Niggas Are Scared of Revolution.
Niggas Scared of Revolution. There's only two.
No, Life's a Bitch.
Life's a Bitch. And the last one.
My last joint. Verses. My Mount Rushmore of verses.
Life's a Bitch, Niggas Scared of Revolution, and
Know
the Ledge. That's heavy.
Those are heavy joints, right?
Those are heavy joints. All of them are like there's hollow tips in there. There's hollow tips in there.
So I'm gonna go with my last joint is Singing Man. Right? Singing Man from the Roots. Sing your song, singing man. Sing your song for me. So, man, because now I'm sitting here thinking that's a loaded question, bro. Because
but now we know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, like Singing Man, but then also Clock with No Hands off the Roots album. You know, Clock with No Hands was just such a beautiful soliloquy. You know, thought really. So I'll say that fourth spot is a revolving spot because I also gotta include because I really like the young brother, man. A lot of his earliest stuff, like growing apart, and you know Kendrick's those early mixtapes. But that Keisha song.
Whoa, yo, you know, man, we're so like I like
Keisha song.
Kendrick is different on that record, right? Isn't that record so different than the other ones? Like he went in, he blacked out. He found something in his soul on that one.
That Keisha song, yo.
Yeah.
That shit brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah. You know, real hip hop, real music, real poetry is supposed to do that to you. Abiodun used to always tell us if poetry doesn't touch any of your five senses, it's not real poetry. I mean, like, you remember when we first heard Renee?
Right.
And then she dies at the end, and you like what did I just experience, Mr. Cheeks? Pause, like my fam, like what you did to me just now? Like, here's a shorty that I remember Renee that I met one day on my way back from John Jay.
And simply, and not even no heavy lyrical, not even like not even with a heavy lexicon, just with regular colloquial speech.
Right.
It was such a heartfelt joint. And
same guy that was Beamer Benz and Lex Cool's Beamer and the Benz. Same guy that, you know, he has these anthems. He had a knack for writing anthems, and he took you there.
With my students, when I'm teaching poetry, the two things that I'm very imperative about. One is probably just real old school, just because I'm from that era, and I think we've lost the art of writing, like actual physical writing. You know, everybody is tapping their phone keys and whatnot. No, like what is your penmanship? Like what's your favorite stock of paper? What's your favorite pen? Like if you're a poet, if you're a writer, you should have a favorite pen. You should have a go-to stock of paper. These are relationships you should know. You know, like I'm a reader. Like I don't like reading ebooks. I want to grab a book, right, and get it to where it's like this. But I done open and close this motherfucker so much that now it's ripping at the seams. Me and this book have a relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's funny. It's funny. Black Thought said that to me. He said, "Yo, we were all our most smartest at like 19." And he was like, I was like, why is that? He was like, because that's when we was like reading books. We had to go to school. We was in school reading, and then our passion and our zeal for the craft pushed us. But we were all intellectual in that regard because we was just in school. Like Biggie was just in school after Ready to Die.
And the thing is, the first rule of writing is reading.
Right.
So many of my students get that wrong. When I ask that question in workshops and whatnot, like, what's the first rule of writing? You know, everybody kind of, you write every day. No, you know what I'm saying? Like it's reading, because how do you reload your clip? How you reload your clip? What's your lexicon looking like? How do you expand your syntax if you're not reading? You know what I'm saying? You know, that's why MCs that second album sound a lot like that first album, because a nigga ain't reading. You know, then the third, because you're not living, if you're not reading, especially when they get busy, right? When they get busy and now you from studio to studio, from show to show, there's no more life. There's life is happening, but it's different for you now. So now you have to intake. You got to take in life somehow or another. And it can't be, I mean, watching movies is cool, but reading, we're writers. Reading is the exercise of embedding words into your brain. And into your body. That is the exercise of it. It's an exercise. If you don't read, you're not exercising your word muscles. So at a certain point, you're gonna start sounding the same.
I agree. I have been writing in notes. Lately, my raps are kind of just been off my head, like kind of just piecing 4 bars or 8 bars and 16 together. You're absolutely right. Thank you for that. I think I'm gonna go right back and go get 2 books, one to read and one to write. Like the thing is, I have this 13-year-old, so you know Katie's mostly into, you know, just the mind like that of expanding. And my daughter Memory, she's like 20 months, and you pick her up and she's like, the book, get the book. No, wait, go get the book. And I think there's a moment in poetry where poetry became funny. I think a lot of the comics were using the open mic circuit, right? To like, and in slam poetry, there was, I'm not a slam poet. I know I learned that from you actually, when people were doing slams and stuff like that. I was privy to have your friendship before I was in slam. So before I ever won a slam poem, I was outside of Def Poetry with you and Lemon walking down the block. You know what I mean? And y'all was like,
yeah, we don't slam.
You know, the competition, and then what the competition did to making these judges laugh or feel something. Do you feel we can go back to this rawness that you had? Now, I know this album, which I really love, we always are ready and available for new Black Ice, like new music that he's able to provide. I love the fact that you're able to rhyme on beats too. Like it's not just this, but on this project, you found pockets that give us the remnants of those stage moments. You feel what I'm saying? And that's not that easy, bro. And then in your album, you have sonic like an album, but the pocket of poetry is dope because our pocket allows for a delay and reverb, but no one does it. Now on this project, I hear the warmth. There's a record that you did with a guy, Josh
Milan. Yeah, Josh Milan is the house, you know, he's the house king. He's the house vocal. He is like, and he's an incredible musician as well. But vocally, Josh Milan is the king of house music.
That piece is my favorite piece. I think it should be after Pure.
It's the next to the last track.
Yeah, man.
Because I wanted to start the album. So shout out to Rich Nice, you know what I'm saying? The incomparable Rich Nice. We talking about Foxy Brown, we talking about Nas, we talking about Lauryn Hill, we talking about Bad Boy, like one of the track masters, Rich Nice, you know, hit me up and, you know, was like, yo, let's do this record. And we've been friends since Def Poetry because him and the commissioner were the musical directors of Def Poetry on Broadway. And so finally things fell into place. And shout out to him for providing that knock and those tracks, man. And it was a because I wanted to make a poetry record. Like he was hell bent on the music, and I was hell bent on marrying poetry to the music. I wanted to start, so I started off with What It's Worth because I felt like the track was slow enough that I could still kind of get a little rhyme in there. I could get a little rhyming in there without
you let it breathe.
without it being too rap recordish, right? But I wanted to kick it off in this very dark space, reporting live from the murderous streets of the brotherly. Helicopters that hover see everything under the sun here. We under the gun here, finger on the trigger, can't mistake the stench the way it linger on a nigga. Yeah. You got gold you'll find covered here where bodies dead 3 days old get discovered here. The place where naughty head kids don't get mothered here. Familiar face. Failure is feared firsthand. Success will kill your taste. This where they hide it. Once decided, they gonna slight your race. It's customary to cut your nose so you can spite your face. The cops invade your space with the strong arm. And the wrong arm of the law is Cop Diesel. It was hard to fight the case. I wanted to start
Famo. Barcelona kid. This is a Barcelona resident with Barcelona on his passport. This man just barred us up just really quickly. I want you guys to run that back. That was amazing. But it's amazing because I'm hearing the presentation of the spoken word, but you guys get to hear it on this album, War of Love. I want to talk about this really quick because it's a really controversial thing. Some don't believe that we can do it. I seen you body Rap City in the basement.
Yeah.
However y'all want it, y'all can get it. Guaranteed I spit it up the caliber. Medieval nigga, call me Excalibur, cause I'm slicing niggas. Pick a guy, yo, dicing niggas. Have your man like yo, Black Ice them niggas. Christ, that nigga got a pass. It ain't for flashing the dough. It's for blasting the flow, leaving you unexpectedly unsure. You wasn't expecting me, young boy. Somebody pushed you, made you knock on the wrong door. They George Bush you, made you enlist in the wrong war. My stashy long, boy, you should've did your research. Just a couple crab niggas on the corner you should've seen first, you maggot. I'm telling faggot niggas that you made a mistake, you little nigga. I'm feeling hot today, don't make me bake you, little nigga. Them trimming rhymes you got my shit a quake, you little nigga. Shit, you spitting on some real fake jigger shit. Get off that nigga dick and find your own sack, son. It ain't a label that can say they own Black Done. I'm solo, check my logo, read the warning like a street sign. I keep rhymes tough, waiting for buck niggas to peel. I'm from Six and Dolphin, never soft and reppin' for real private. Black don't do nothing but spill skill. Turn your cipher into a scene off a Kill Bill. I'm a free verse fanatic. When Black get at it, it's automatic, sporadic, rapid fire, Rakim type flow. My facts come in flurries when I state them, nigga. Taking verbatim when I write, I don't edit. It's like God said it, decided to give me the credit. Roll your dice against ice, I'ma fade you niggas betted. I leave you shredded like some government docs. Smoke you niggas like a fiend who just discovered his rocks. I clear the corner like the task force smothered the block. You a Vietnamese whore, I'm a black cock. I'm too big to fuck with. You should've stuck with them niggas on the ad. Now on God's behalf, I got to show you the head.
I'm talking about body bag.
Yeah.
You brought the body bag back to Philly. You showed it off. There's flies on that bag. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Jimmy Hoffa. Like it's body bag. So then I see the poets under you, like all of us, going, oh, we could do it too. Like, relax. Just listen to the album. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have a North Star until recently, because poets, we live for the room as well. We live to heal, right? And so we don't know who we healing on these records. We hope that we are, and then we get some feedback.
Right.
When we get accolades like trophies and Grammys and American Music Awards and stuff like that, and Billboard Awards, I got 4. When you get to a place where there's a North Star, I think the competition level in rap kind of turned up. We had Will Smith, shouts to Philly, the first rappers to garnish a Grammy, and now today we have a poetry Grammy. So to speak.
Spoken word poetry.
Right. And so
shout out. Yeah, go ahead.
Shout outs to everybody involved with that. I remember Jay Ivy was the person that was leading it. Jay Ivy is a Chicago poet. Also, he wasn't a part of the Def Poetry cast like our guest today. He was part of the poetry world that was on HBO, and he did a couple of joints, and he did that record with Ye and Jay-Z. And on that, so he started this Grammy thing, and it's just like a lot of controversy because he started it. He worked with the Grammys, from my understanding, And then his album won back to back. He did back to back to back. He was Mike. He's the Mike Jordan.
He had a two-peat.
He had a
repeat. Yeah, he had a repeat. Well, I guess it's a repeat, not a two-peat, but a repeat, right? Because it's a repeat. There's you win it, then there's the repeat, then there's the three-peat, right? So he had a repeat,
Okay, so he don't got 3 Grammys.
No, he got 2.
A lot of people were saying that he's giving the Grammy to himself. I remember there was an album by a brilliant poet, Aja Monet. She did an album called When the Poems Do What They Do.
Yeah.
The title of the album should have won the Grammy. When you listen to this album, it was straight crack. Yeah. Our world, our poetry world, it isn't as organized as we would like it to be. Talk to me about how do you feel about J.I.B. giving himself Grammys? How do you feel about albums like Aja and albums like yourself not getting a chance to get recognized? What do you feel? This is our last. I wanted you to touch on that a little bit because poetry never had a North Star. Especially now that Def Po is gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, it had because I think Def Poetry was the North Star at a certain point, right? Well, or the North Star of the machine. Right, like that was at a certain point the Def Poetry moniker became what we aspired to get on, like Def Comedy, right? It was Uptown Comedy. It was Uptown Comedy, Uptown Comedy with the live show.
I remember that,
like that in New York.
They were snapping on each other.
Right before Def Comedy, there was the Uptown Comedy thing, which some people kind of say. They give the credit to Def Comedy to Uptown Comedy Club, right?
I remember.
And so the Def Poetry became that because it was like, oh shit, we're getting recognized. Like poetry is on HBO, right? And so to me, cool.
There will be no commercials.
Right. Which was a beautiful thing because we were uncensored. Yeah. Stan and Russ took a lot of heat. A lot of us, got in a lot of trouble, because they allowed us to say whatever the fuck we wanted to say. That's a no-no.
I remember George Bush was president.
I remember
we had went through the World Trade and we went through all that. And now here's this place that was iconic for us. And you're right. That was our North Star. But now
that was the North Star. And then but I'll say, like, before I get into that, I'll say, we go back to the Tonys. Go back to the review of us when we first opened up. We were like, because it was all brand new to us. So we was really like worried about these reviews, right? We had our soft opening for the critics to come through and see the show. And then we sat on pins and needles for 4 days until the reviews came out. Reviews come out, stellar reviews. And we go crazy, right? We're going crazy. The cast, me, Lemon, we're all going crazy. And then our stage manager, Alice Smith, says to us in our warm up before the show, she said, congrats on having great reviews. Now forget about them, because if you subscribe and take to heart what these critics are saying about you when you're good, if they say the opposite, you have to do the same. So you can't, you gotta let that shit go, because that's not why you do your art. And so now we fast forward to this Grammy thing. I think it's a beautiful thing whenever the art, and now also the Grammy being implemented is now me being 22 years professionally into my craft.
Correct.
So I've and a Peabody, a Tony, and an Emmy and a Webby Award in to my craft.
Sorry, I left the Emmy out. But yeah, that's right. You do have an
Emmy, Peabody, Tony, and a Webby Award for some writing I did for American Express.
Right.
Right. So now we at this Grammy, right? And now
there's this EGOT thing.
Right. I mean, you have these things, you have these awards, right? And none of us, this is not why we write poetry. We write poetry. My man Abyss got got the dopest line I've ever heard about when
Abyss from Atlanta?
Abyss. He had a line said, God made my skies gray so I can make yours blue.
I heard a line from a lady, Marty McConnell, and she goes, and you pray to your God, but he's too busy meditating on free will.
Like
it's healing.
God made, like, to accept that, right? To say, damn, my days are grayer than yours because I see the beauty in things that you may not be able to.
Wow.
And that's my responsibility, right? Is to take my gray skies so yours can be blue. That's why I write. That's a hell of an acceptance of a responsibility, right?
Yo, but
and then the other line is from Mama Sonia. Me and Jessica Caremore were at the Wisconsin Book Festival at University of Wisconsin a few years back. And Jessica and I and Mama Sonia Sanchez, were walking around getting some air. And we're walking on, she's in the middle of us. And we say, I ask her, like, Mama, what does it mean to be a poet? Right? What does it mean? She says, to be a poet means to be extraordinary and ordinary at the same time. These are the defining lines of my path. To be extraordinary and ordinary at the same time. You know what I'm saying? To be this light worker that anybody can touch. Right. To be able to see through your gray skies in order to make them dance and create beauty out of them through these words that we stitch together, so that somebody else could read it or hear it and say, that's how I feel. That's right. Damn, that's exactly how I like to have that. And that's the resolve, right? To be able to give other people beautiful resolve. That's what we do, right? So when it comes to back to the Grammy, so we keep those things in context while we talk about this award.
Right.
The Grammys, the Tonys, the Emmys, all these award shows are political. It's politics, it's votes, it's all of these things, right? And that's just what it is. So for me, I submitted my record last year. Rich Nice and I submitted the album last year. It's not why I made the album at all.
It's a dope album.
Yeah, I made the album because I felt like I had something to say. I made the album because I needed to make the album to get that out.
Yeah.
That first and foremost, it was like, I have these things I need to say and get them out. I didn't think about is this crowd going to catch this? Is this crowd going to catch that? This is yours. Right. And so the first Grammy, so let's go timeline. The first Grammy happens. Jay Ivy and his wife, shout out to them. They were very instrumental in the creation of this new North Star.
This new category.
And so that year, first year, and it's politics to me. So the minute that I understand that it's politics, I understand that there is a hand in it that I have no control over. And for me, I cannot emotionally invest in anything that I have no control over.
Zero, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have no control over that. And because I'm Aquarius, that kind of disappointment, you know what I'm saying? It's why I don't have birthday parties, right? Because
you was born in January and nobody came.
February. But not even that, because if I fucking send you an invite to my birthday party and you don't fucking show,
It's cold in Philly in February, fam.
I don't want to deal with that disappointment, right?
That's right. That's right.
I don't want to deal with that disappointment, but and understand that that's a disappointment that I subject myself to, that I have no control over.
Right.
So at my age, I don't subject myself to things that I have no control over, and it's opinionated.
You was also a dad very young.
Well, 23. I became a dad at 23.
Yeah, and so you was more mature than a lot of us, or all of us. You know what I'm saying? Like in the sense of like, you know, this work that I'm doing is not to be played with.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
it's no time to play, and I'm not gonna just go there just so that y'all could tell me that this is gonna line up next to that, and it doesn't. Like I feel what you're saying, that your work became a different thing early on.
So for that, like immediately, you know, because I have my favorites. I say, you know, like I have my favorite poets. I have my, you know, I have my Mount Rushmore of my contemporaries. You know what I'm saying? You have Sonny Patterson and Amir Suleiman, the first year that the award actually came out, they were instrumental in getting poets able to submit for the spoken word Grammy.
I remember that.
Then they said, no, we need to go differently. We need to do something different, because now we're competing against the Barack Obamas and the
Barack Obama was getting Grammys.
Because
got a Grammy.
Because that's why I don't like calling it spoken word, because really it's performance poetry, right? Because spoken word is a broad genre. Spoken word includes comedy, it includes stand-up comedy, it includes book narration, it includes
storytelling.
What we do is performance poetry. So when it got separated, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Now it's an even more specific thing. Yet and still, I have my Amir is one of my favorite. You know, Sonny Patterson, Amir Suleiman, these are in my top 3 of my favorite contemporary poets. You know, the album.
Shout out to Sonny Patterson. We have to get going.
Yeah.
But talk about this first, really quick. Talk about you said Amir Suleiman was a part of that early on, and then
he submitted his record, and Amir is such a purist. Right? He's such a purist and such a great.
Gotta get him on the show.
He's such a beautiful person, right? Amir and Sonny are two people who, by default, when you're around them, their spirits are so aligned that they silently force you to be the best you are.
That's right.
Right. That's right. And so you have. I
did a commercial. I was in the back of the office one day, and they was putting up poets to be on this Beats by Dre commercial for Serena Williams. And I saw Sonny, and I was like, that's it. That's there. Let's move on. Yeah. She already has this piece that's crazy. Let's go. Sonny's, her aura.
Right. And so for me, again, I love it. I just want us to utilize. Let's not covet this Grammy. Let's not let this Grammy create division.
That's right.
Right. Let's let this Grammy bring us together and bring out even more beautiful work. Let's all work now to, you know, where we have a Grammy. Don't we want to see one of us win the award on the award show? Like, let's figure out how we can get that done before we start, you know, and also let's put a committee together that actually is a bona fide poetry savvy committee group that understands the art form and the craft and can really give a fair measure of what is good musical poetry versus what leaves a lot to be desired. And so for me, at where we're at now with that North Star is now we need some real GPS. We need some real direction in that, so that we.
It's funny. We got to go. We're pressed for time, but
we need Jay for that. Like we need Jay Ivy to help us navigate this new landscape that, you know, because him and, you know, he knows the landscape.
You saying his album didn't deserve the Grammy? I'm saying that. I heard pieces of it.
You're saying that. I'll say that we only get what we deserve. So, you know, Jay is my brother.
I think he needs to go back. I think my man needs to go back and just like you said, be a leader of something new, because because there's the criteria of poetry is important. Like, and the poet, they say when wars happen and they come and take over a country, they first kill the poets.
They kill the poets first,
They get them out of here. We don't
the
need
poets,
them.
the historians, and the medicine men. They're out of here. You know what I'm saying? Like
we don't need them hanging around for no revolution. Like, get them out of here. So, you know, I agree with you. Shout out to JIV. You got a lot of work to do to continue having this prestigious North Star be, was it reputable or like, you know, something that we can really stand by. And when we say North Star, we think of Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman found the North Star. By the next morning, she would touch the tree and find out which side the sun came and burned the sap, so she know which way is north. And we need some like real, this is the why. We don't know the why of that award other than the name. And so I love you, brother. Thank you so much.
I love you too, bro. Thanks,
being
man.
on my show, man. My first season. I couldn't have nobody else but you, man. I didn't know you didn't know about that, about Napster, that you were big on Napster.
No, not at all.
Yeah, man. People was downloading you with Jason Williams crossover videos. They were downloading Black Ice and like, you know, Jay-Z albums. So man, you know, this world has done a lot to us, and it's made a huge like dent of garbage, but you make it beautiful. You make it so beautiful. We thank you for existing with what you have, man, in your presentation and being a Barcelona man.
Oh man, I'm honored, man.
My man, Black Ice.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it. That's it. On you already know that's a bar podcast. It's all about bars. It's all about who we are as people. It's about what we about and the layers. There's layers to us. Don't ever get it twisted. You already know that's a bar. My name is Albe Back. Peace. We're a whole entity. Came through a sweater on my entity. I'ma keep sketching heaven off memory. I was there yesterday. It was heavenly. I'm okay with raising all of y'all apparently. Life ain't fair, so they claiming Pharisees. Over my career, exposure wasn't resi me.